Hey, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Descendants 4 leaked footage. Disney has announced the launch of a fourth edition of the Descendants called Descendants 4, The Pocket Watch, and fans are more excited than ever. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. All right, let's jump into it. Background and news. For those of you who don't know, Disney introduced a new franchise in 2015 based on the descendants of some of our favorite Disney characters, including Maleficent, the evil queen from Snow White, and many others. The first three movies told us a story about Mal, who is the daughter of Maleficent. She starts out as a villain who sneaks across the bridge to cause trouble, but changes towards the end of the first film. She chooses good over evil, and in the next two movies, fights against evil to save the people of her future kingdom. She becomes queen by the end when King Ben proposes to her and makes her his queen. The third film ended with the recently engaged royal couple looking over their subjects. The story now had its happy ending, but the fans needed more. During the pandemic, Disney was restricted in terms of filming face-to-face, so they decided to release an animated add-on to the first three movies where Mal and Ben would get married. We got to see the animated versions of all our favorite characters, and although it was interesting to see how Disney would portray the cast as cartoons, fans weren't over the moon about the fact that the real-life actors and actresses were not involved as much as before. So despite eating up the royal wedding, fans were ever hungrier to see the cast again. But it wasn't all bad. The royal wedding ended with a rather interesting cliffhanger. We saw Mal and Ben talking on a terrace with the cartoon version of Ben saying, "So, I guess this is our happily ever after." To which Mal said, "Perhaps, but someone's story is just getting started somewhere." And the camera panned towards a rabbit hole in the ground with red paint splashed around it. It was obvious there was going to be more of the Descendants, and fans already started thinking up theories. There were rumors of more additions to the character list, some of which made way too much sense, and some were so far-fetched you wouldn't believe them. Some said we would see a descendant of the evil Hun warlord from Mulan, while some thought Rapunzel's evil stepmother would have had a secret child. The slightly sober fans believed we would welcome someone from the Alice in Wonderland franchise, since we saw a rabbit hole in red paint. These rumors would later be proven right by Disney themselves at Disney's D3A convention in September. They released a statement that we would be seeing an entirely new story since the last story had reached its finale. Disney told us there would be two protagonists who would team up to save the day. Red, the daughter of the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, and Chloe, the daughter of Cinderella and Prince Charming. The statement says that Red and Chloe will have to save the celebrations of the birth of a royal baby by traveling back in time using the White Rabbit's pocket watch. Uma, the villain pirate from the last story, also returns for some unfinished business. So, what could that news mean? If you knew all that already, we apologize, but if we don't bring up newcomers up to date, how will our fandom grow? We promise there won't be any history lessons after this point. Okay, now that you're all up to date, let's dissect this information Disney so graciously provided. Let's address the elephant in the room first, the royal baby. The heartbreak we all went through when we heard we won't get to see our favorite couple anymore hurt like hell, but it was eased when Disney mentioned the royal baby. The royal baby is a pretty obvious hint towards Mal and Ben having a baby, so we may just get to see at least some scenes of the two as loving parents to the newborn prince or princess. Let's face it, whoever the parents are, we just want to see the baby. Secondly, the new protagonists. It's time to move on from the old cast and welcome in the new one. We don't know about you, but we're excited to see what new ways Disney will come up with to make us love these new characters as much as the old ones. As for Red and Chloe, their personalities were also commented on by Disney. They said that Red is a whip-smart and rebellious teenager, whereas Chloe is a bit of a perfectionist and is quite athletic as well. Uma also returns, which is kind of a big deal. The actress that plays Uma announced that she has unfinished business, and the way she said it hinted very strongly toward her part still being evil. We wouldn't take that to the bank, though. After all, Mal wasn't exactly queen material at the beginning either. The last story had ended, but that doesn't mean we can't get cameos from some of the previous characters, especially Chad, who mysteriously never got the chance to bring up that he had a sister. He has to have at least some dialogues with his younger sister, right? Now that Red and Chloe are going back in time, maybe they'll go to a time where some of our previous characters were up to something they can join them. That would be a spectacle, wouldn't it? Maybe it's a good thing that they didn't carry on with the last story. The cast and many of the fans believed that it would not seem right to carry on without Cameron Boyce. He played Carlos, and we all loved him as much as anyone else. Cameron unfortunately lost his life in 2019, and out of respect for him, we think it was only right to end that story there. Who among the cast is returning, and who is new? There are reports that we could get to see Dove Cameron, Boo Boo Stewart, Sophia Carson, Anna Jeffrey, and many others from the original cast, but we dare say it would be only as something of a cameo. Disney wouldn't want the viewers to stay obsessed with the old cast, but rather try and give us a reason to fall in love with Kylie Cantrell and Dara Renee, who play Red and Chloe respectively. Jedediah Goodacre is the favorite to be involved. He plays Chad, who, as we mentioned before, is the elder brother of Chloe. He must come into the story at some point to be the caring older brother to Chloe, even if he doesn't influence the story that much. As you may remember, Descendants: The Royal Wedding paid a small tribute to the late Cameron Boyce with the scene with the chain. But although it was only on screen for a couple of seconds, it did wonders for the fans. Many emotional fans were seen leaving the cinemas, and despite moving on from that story, fans would expect Disney to pay some sort of tribute to the actor at some point in the movie. As of yet, the so-called villain is Uma, so China Anne McClain is worth a mention as well. She had a moment with the two protagonists, Kylie and Dara. By the looks of it, that trio will be the main focus of the film, or maybe they will introduce some other surprise characters come premiere day. Who else would we love to see featured? This part isn't officially confirmed, but we thought we might play around a little and think about what it would be like to see some new characters in Descendants 4. Some people may not agree, but we think it would be fun to add some new characters to the fray. The parents of the characters in the original story weren't necessarily related, or were even in the same cinematic universe. So we have our hands full when it comes to thinking up new characters who may or may not be introduced. First off, we saw Princess Ruby in the original story, who was the daughter of Rapunzel and Eugene from Tangled. Our recommendation is from that movie as well, but this time from the evil side. We think Rapunzel's evil stepmom could have had a secret child before she kidnapped Rapunzel to use her powers. Imagine a girl with dark curly hair walking in and always thinking she knows best. We definitely enjoy watching someone like that. Up next, we go to the Great Wall, and our focus is the massive, scary-looking Hun who scaled the Great Wall of China in Mulan. Seeing a buffed-up Hun who is always looking for a chance to gain power over the others. We'd watch him just to listen to that chilling music that came on every time Shan Yu came on screen. This one is also from Mulan, but this one isn't human. The dragon who guided Mulan on her journey was meant to be big and scary, but it was the puny, funny-looking dragon who ended up having to take up the responsibility of bringing Mulan back home. The ride was full of obstacles, but Mushu's fast thinking was the only thing keeping Mulan alive at times. We're not quite sure how they would cast a real-life dragon for the film, though, so maybe we won't see that feat anytime soon. So when do we get to see it? The pandemic is still not completely over, so we must be cautious while making plans for a trip to the cinema. If it was an animated film, we would have some certainty as to when it would be released, but with the filming, we never know when someone could test positive for COVID-19 and force filming to be postponed for at least a couple of weeks altogether. According to reports, production has already started, and Disney will start filming by the start of 2023. So barring any unforeseen complications, and depending on how quickly they can be done filming, we should be able to watch it in cinemas around mid-2023. Descendants 3 had around $15 million worth of a budget, and now 4 years later, considering the additional expenses of keeping the cast and other members of the staff isolated during the pandemic, and the added expenses of better up-to-date editing, the budget would definitely have to be more than the last time. As for the direction, expect this one to have a different feel from the last 3 live-action films. We will get to see a new director in Jennifer Fang, meaning we bid farewell to Kenny Ortega, and thank him for his efforts in making the last 3 films into the masterpieces that they are. Fang is known to her fans for her work in Half-Life and Advantageous. Are there any new musicals and dances? Not that they are exclusively for children, but all Disney movies expect a large amount of their audience to be under 14 years of age. So, what keeps children interested in movies, do you ask? Well, of course, it's the dances and the songs. We can't think of one Disney movie that didn't have catchy, feel-good songs in it. Disney hit it out of the park with Frozen, but let's not get distracted. Descendants 4, The Pocket Watch, will be more of the same, really, with reports of 7 new songs set to be included. Perhaps we'll see one of the characters have a change of heart, like Mao once did, and sing him or herself into an entirely different person. We'd be lying if we said we haven't seen something like that. So, that's about all the time we have, Disney fans. We look forward to seeing you in the cinemas come premiere day. But until then, we're bound to get some more news about the movie. So subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed this video and want to join us the next time we review some new pieces of news.